Hey, Mufasi here. This is a clip from our full podcast. Go check out the full episodes. You can watch them more on our YouTube or go listen to them on Spotify. You were doing content well before you were doing wrestling content, as we were. The connections you've made and like community you've built around wrestling, is it drastically different than the community you built before? Is there a lot of carryover, or is it like, are you experiencing more connections with people now that you're in the wrestling space, and are the conversations a lot different as well?
Okay, I was streaming on Twitch for like 3 full years before I even started watching wrestling. So not even really before I was like making the content. And I was doing a little bit of variety, but I was playing a game called XCOM. And
I love XCOM.
I mean that I've even though I've switched all my other stuff, I still keep a couple XCOM enemies up on the wall, just as like I'll never forget that era. When I wanted to do content at all, I wanted to be interactive. And I saw an ability with XCOM to make it interactive. So immediately you could name your soldiers after viewers and stuff. So I was doing that.
Sure.
But what launched my channel then was it feels really cool to say, because you can still go and find some people doing this thing that I like came up with. But I like, without knowing how to mod, I wasn't a modder of the game, but the game is heavily modded. I had pioneered this, like, you can come to my chat while I'm playing and use your channel points to spawn an enemy on me and ruin my game, or like do this and make it harder, or help me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't through modding. It was just, I learned that you could do like console commands. So I went into like the game and I was like, okay, so this will bring an enemy. So the reason I tell you that is because that's where the initial itch to put my community on the screen as like a full interactive thing started.
Sure.
And where that evolved was after a couple years, a UFC game was a free PlayStation game of the month. So I was like, oh, this would be kind of funny. Like, we'll do fight night on Fridays for like an hour before we play XCOM. I'll put a few of my subscribers in UFC fights. We'll bet our channel points on the fight, and it's just a good time. That 1 hour pre XCOM fight night that we did just for fun, just to open a stream, has turned into, we have a full, because eventually I'd say, oh, let's do the same thing in this WWE game, because that'd be kind of fun. There's entrances or whatever. Before I was watching WWE, by the way, I did this WWE game thing for the stream for a little bit. But now that I'm watching it, that little 1 hour goof around segment has turned into, every week we have a full SmackDown equivalent and Raw equivalent. We have PLEs. It's nuts. Yeah. And some of those people have kind of come over. I have gotten apparently a few people into wrestling that were just watching for XCOM. I did lose I did definitely lose some people in the community that just didn't follow along, which, it sucks. And I will never forget that community. That was a community that like supported me and carried me for years. So like, I'll never forget that group. A lot of them are still in the Discord. I still like talk to a lot of them. Yeah. But in terms of consuming the content that we do, they don't really watch that. So I will, I'll never say one was like, if I was going to say one was better than the other, I would almost say that one was better, because it was a close knit group of people that I got to know for years. And, that could happen with what I'm doing now, but I've only had this community it's only been building for a few months. So like, it would feel wrong to say, well, it's bigger, so it's better, it was such a close knit group for years that it was tough I made like the post in the Discord. I told everybody, hey, like, I love you all. Like, this has been awesome. But like, you guys know that I've been burnt out. I'm doing that same thing for years, and I was looking for something else. And so many none were unsupportive, I should say. Some were just like, good luck on your journey. I'm going to go,
I'm going to go watch more XCOM and like,
I'm going to watch someone else play XCOM, but seriously, good luck. But a lot did come over, and some of them were wrestling fans previously, and they got back into wrestling. Some watched enough of the wrestling video game that we were playing that they were like, yeah, I could give a shot watching the real version of this, and now they've become wrestling fans. So the community morphing has been like, when I zoom out and look at how it happened, I'm really thankful that so many, you know, I don't even think I had anyone that I can think of, at least not publicly or openly to me, that was like pissed that
Right.
I
That's
left
the
what
mark
we
of a
used to
true
do.
fan.
Yeah, it's very cool that, yeah, and I think that just shows that it really was a really good community, that like it wasn't just there for like the content, but like everybody, you know, liked each other. It was a very close knit group. So I know that was like way more than what you asked, but that is something that I haven't really gotten the opportunity to talk about. And I really love that community that I feel like I used to be, you know, constantly doing content with and constantly doing stuff with, and I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for them, because it was a 3 years of, yeah, I was bumping my head on a ceiling and I wasn't really able to grow anymore because that game wasn't bringing out new content to like bring in more fans or more people that would be interested in it. But I mean, without that community, I would have absolutely been like, all right, well, you know, this Friday streaming isn't doing it. I want to go back to, you know, doing my real job. But they carried me just enough that I could find something that actually had some, like, it's the WWE. There's new stuff happening all the time.
Right.
So like
Every day.
Yeah, it's constant. So and it just so happens that I had already fallen in love with it in the year prior, that because I wasn't making any WWE content other than like in the video game for the first year plus that I was watching.
I actually resonate with all of that like quite a bit, because like I said, I was the same. I was streaming since 2020. I came back from my internship and I was like, I'm going to give streaming a go. And it was during COVID. So, you know, the COVID boom of streamers that happened.
Yep.
And, you know, I met a lot of people through streaming. I met like some of my closest friends. Me and Galir like essentially reconnected because of streaming. And like the community that was built there was special. And it was great for me. And like the content I was doing, I was like happy with, but then I think kind of the same thing happened where I was just keep trying to do the same thing. And then I would be like, I would go through a stint and be like, oh, I'm not posting to YouTube. Like, I'll give it a go again. Let's try and start it up again. But it wasn't like I would do it and keep up with it, but then I would just burn myself out. And I was like, whatever. And so we started doing this, and number one, I haven't been burnt out doing it because there's always something new.
Right.
The interaction, like negative or positive comments that we get from it, like there's just something different, and I think I like it. And it's a lot more of a challenge for me. Not that I'm not saying streaming is easy, because it's definitely not, but I'm saying like it's a different kind of challenge, like trying to keep up with all of the news coming out and keeping up with, you know, posting TikToks and all this stuff. And even like these, like when we have guests on like you, like we're learning new stories about people and we're getting new connections, and it's super cool. And I love it so far.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's we both come from that walk of like, I was also in the we kind of like Mufasi and I kind of shared a community in a sense.
Yeah.
Like
we had a
for the
lot of
most part.
carryover back and forth.
We started streaming around the same time, but we didn't really like interact a whole lot. And then I started doing a similar thing to you, a virtual wrestling show. Shout out Galir Championship Wrestling. And then I think I asked him one day, I was like, hey, do you want to do like commentary with me for this? And he was like, yeah. And like, I do commentary alone now, but every now and then I'm still like making it. Like before I hopped on here, I was recording some matches for the for the promotion.
YouTube.
Just yeah, and it's like, it's one of those things too. I think it's funny because like about 90-ish% of our viewers did not watch wrestling, but they tuned in every week to GCW to like, just because they were like, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
And I did have people that were like vocal about not liking, because I used to do Pokemon before that. I still do Pokemon now, but I alternate between the two, and it's like things change, and you know, it's just a matter of kind of doing what makes you happy. And I feel like for us and for you, it's kind of about sharing that love for pro wrestling. I think that's what it is chalked up to in the end.
I resonate with the people watching, even though they didn't watch wrestling, because the way we do it is we have a section for it in the Discord where you can write promos and stuff for upcoming shows or whatever.
Literally same.
and so we basically we got people into it by seeing that before I was doing wrestling content, and everybody was calling it like, I mean, because it was XCOM, it's a strategy game, so naturally you meet a lot of like super nerds that are like really into D&D and all that and all this cool stuff, and they're like, we're basically just playing like D&D wrestling right now. This is dope. And then like the fighting, like the fighting sequence is just a randomized thing that we watch on the stream, and then whatever happens, regardless if you win or lose, then we go and we try to make the story work, and we like, all right, now what happens now? And so yeah, I totally get it. There were people that did not watch any wrestling that were like, yeah, I can scratch a D&D itch with this. So it's cool.
Right.